For my third project, this is another research project of going into one of my favorite types of art, which is Asian art. I am going to be specifically looking into Southeast Asia while going over a brief talk about the history of Southeast Asia and mainly doing a dive in of different types of art in Southeast Asia, as to me they were one of the culture areas where they were very vast as far as what materials they used and everything that they did for meaning or use and things of that, and still incorporate a lot of artwork into them. A brief explanation of Southeast Asia's history is mainly to start off with Southeast Asia refers to the huge peninsula of Indochina and the extensive archipelago of what is known as the East Indies. They were mainly split into three regions of Southeast Asia. They were the Sanskrit region of Cambodia and Indonesia, the region of Burma where Pali, a dialect related to Sanskrit, was used as a literacy and religious language mostly, and the third region being the Chinese region of Vietnam. These regions had many different cultural slash developments due to region's geological pattern. So that would mean mainly like very steep mountainous range or very valley areas, kind of as a way to draw it similar to like how the United States is so different when you look at the East Coast, the Midwest to the west of the United States. It's similar to that aspect, as while there are some similarities to most of those people's beliefs as far as like multiple gods and just mainly drawing to having different uses for different beliefs. They still had a lot of different aspects with their artworks and depiction of belief due to the regions that they were in and the materials they mainly had. So, with countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, and the Philippines being occupied by Austronesians, which are Maleo-Polynesians, other countries like India were dealing with mass expansions thanks to their commerce blowing up, and that had it to where, compared to these Polynesian groups, having it to where they were mainly isolated themselves and just mainly dealt with people that were similar of them. The Indian commerce had a lot of influence and culture heavily get involved with like their country and other countries that they were spread the commerce and trades to, which would bring the two leading religions from India, being Hinduism and Buddhism, reach into other regions, which would stir some form of conflict, but also really have a lot of beautiful artwork developed from that. Some examples of artworks that I'm going to talk about are I mainly are wanting to talk about different countries, as to me I don't really find one country specifically having artwork that I want to highlight, as I like the whole region of Southeast Asia really showcasing well about their belief of multi-gods and how they use them. So some of the artworks that I am wanting to go ahead and show off first are each going to be some different materials that we would usually think of first. The first to the left being of stone, the middle one being of bronze that has now gone ahead and turned green, kind of like how our Statue of Liberty went from being bronze to being her beautiful green. And the last one being a really interesting ceramics. And I mainly wanted to go ahead and show all three of these, as to me they do have a draw of a similarity of all of them showing some form of piece, a figure, and having it to where their expression is mainly the same or similar, whereas two of them, the one from Indonesia and Thailand, have a lot more of this bronze stone being more like religious or higher power in that aspect. I enjoyed also the ceramics one a lot because of the simple fact of how it shows a lot of peace and prosperity with the ceramics man holding the lotus, similar to how it kind of like would give you the idea of Buddhism and also of Hinduism's peace. There's also these other interesting artworks that were mainly of wood, ones of showing of offerings being beside a river, so these could be some of the women in the local tribes going ahead and showcasing their pieces, and then one of many many infamous Buddha pieces that are kind of just showed to kind of bring the idea of peace and just prosperity of being kind to one another. The last piece was the most interesting to me, in my personal opinion, as these went ahead and came from Indonesia, as these are all different pieces that were from dagger handles. So these really had it to where in the time of battle, they still really put a lot of care and attention to detail with their artwork, being mostly comprised of animal horn, bone, and wood, which is shown in that specific order from left to right. And yeah, this has honestly been the coolest one to me to look into, and I hope everyone else enjoyed this as much as I did. Have a good day!